What's up everyone, I'm Tim. This is my channel 40 Times Around, and today we're going to talk about a really inexpensive alternative to GoPro. And it's only about $55 on Amazon, so stick around. Alright guys, let's jump right into this. So we're going to talk about a really inexpensive alternative to GoPro, and this is the Ion Speed Pro. And it's about $55 on Amazon. Now that price fluctuates a little bit. I have it saved in one of my buy later categories, so I'm always watching the price of it fluctuate, but it always hovers right around $55. Now what's really cool about that is it actually comes with a whole bunch of mounts, handlebar mounts, helmet mount, all kinds of different things. I'm going to show you how I kind of have my bike set up, and I actually have two of these cameras because they were so much cheaper than the GoPro. I was able to afford getting multiple cameras, and that way I have a few angles going at one time. You know, I have my handlebar mount and my helmet mount going at the same time. That's pretty awesome, you know, when you think two cameras was still less than one GoPro. Now, I'm not knocking the GoPro, they're awesome cameras, but they're just super expensive. Now with this camera, you have the option of shooting in either 1080p or 720p. Now I typically just run it in 1080p, and that's a nice crisp image. You know, the video quality is great, especially for uploading to YouTube. You know, 4K is great, but it's not really necessary if you're not uploading your videos in 4K or you don't have, you know, the ability to play back in 4K. So 1080p is, in my opinion, as good as you need it to be, if not better. Now also this camera shoots in 14 megapixels. Another really cool thing about this camera is that it's waterproof as is. You don't need an extra case for it. It's actually submergible as is up to 10 meters or 30 feet. That's pretty cool. Now this camera actually has a built-in mic, which if you're like me and it's just sitting on your handlebars, all you're gonna get is wind noise, so it doesn't really do me much good, but something to weigh in, it does have a microphone. Now another thing about this camera is that it takes a micro SD card. Now if you don't know what a micro SD card is, it looks like this, and they're just a little bit smaller than the regular SD cards. Now this camera has a battery life, according to the factory, up to about 2.5 hours. And I think I get a little bit more out of it than that. I guess it kind of depends on what you're doing with it. What I'll typically do with my camera is if I have it on my helmet or on my handlebars, I'll just run it for 15-20 seconds at a time. I'll kind of treat it like I'm taking a picture. So if I see something interesting in the scenery, or maybe an animal off in the distance, or just a nice turn in the road that I want to capture, I won't just leave the camera running for 15 minutes. I'll just turn it on for 15-20 seconds and then turn it off. And I found that when I come home from a big trip, I'm not stuck with 10 hours of footage that I have to filter through down to 3 minutes of usable footage anyway. So I just kind of stick with the real good, you know, money shots. Okay, so this is the Ion Speed Pro. Now, it's shaped a little different than a GoPro. The GoPro, as you probably know, is more of a square shape. This is actually a little more aerodynamic when it's on the top of my helmet than a GoPro would be. And like I said, no case needed for this to be waterproof. And also, it's really easy to operate even with a gloved hand. All you have is just this record and stop switch, and then you hold this power button down to shut it off. Now, before I show you guys how I actually mount this on the bike and some of my tricks for using this camera, I want to show you guys what this camera is actually capable of. But first, let me just give you a little backstory on where we actually are right now. So we're out in California. We're on Otay Lakes Road. Probably about 12 years ago when I learned how to ride a motorcycle, this was the road that I used to always ride on when I lived in San Diego. I mean, hundreds of times back and forth on this road. It's one of the most beautiful roads in San Diego. If you happen to be out here, definitely check it out. It's Otay Lakes Road, and then it connects with Route 94, and it'll actually take you all the way out to Desert Towers. So let's go hit the road. I'll show you guys what this camera can do and show you where I learned to ride a motorcycle. Okay, so this is probably the most important mount in my opinion, and this is the helmet mount that actually comes with this camera, and it just snaps on like that. Now that's a little more obnoxious than the GoPro, but for the price I'm really not complaining. Now this is just suctioned on there and it comes off pretty easy, and then you just push this down and lock it into place. Now I wouldn't recommend getting on the highway with this. However, I have. We actually just rode here on the highway. I was going about 75, 80 miles an hour with this on my helmet and it didn't blow away, just as is, just like that. Now another mount that I have is actually right on my handlebars right here. And it's a nice wide angle, and that way when I'm shooting with it, it actually gets the background behind my helmet and behind my face, which is a pretty cool shot. Now another spot that I have a mount is actually on the back, and it's rear facing. That way if I'm riding with a buddy, I can get good shots of them from them facing the camera, which is a pretty cool shot if they're close enough. Comes out really nice, especially on the twisty roads. It really just, I think it's a great shot. So that goes right here, right like that. And this is the final mount that I have for this camera, and this is a selfie stick. I actually use this a lot. If you've seen my my 10,000 mile trip from 2 years ago, that video, I use this a lot. It's just a great way to get a nice third person shot. Just kind of get the whole scope of where you are, the whole bike and everything. You can get kind of creative with it too. You can take selfies, or you know, sometimes I would even just hold it down and get a good shot of the tire, which is pretty cool. Pretty much I would say though, if you're trying to get good shots of your motorcycle trips, you're gonna want a decent selfie stick. They were a game changer for me when I started using one of these. Just allows you to get such a better scope of the moment that's happening. So I highly recommend getting a selfie stick, and just be safe when you're using it, when you're riding. Make sure you're not using it in traffic. If you're using it on twisty roads, which I don't recommend, just be safe about it. All right guys, so that wraps it up. That's the Ion Speed Pro. Hopefully you guys got something out of this video. If you did, make sure you hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you guys want to see more videos about motorcycles, camping, traveling, and adventure. And don't forget to hit the little bell. That way you turn on notifications anytime I post something new, and that way you won't miss anything. So, all right, thanks for watching guys. See you next time.